for the meeting.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
I
cool.
leapt straight in there before Sam. So I'll start again.
Yeah, the recording started and we're live. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Right, welcome to the Scrutiny Programme Committee. I've had apologies for absence from Councillor Mary Jones. I don't think I've had any other apologies. So item 2 is disclosures of personal and prejudicial interest. Has anybody got any disclosures they wish to make? No? Okay. Item 3, prohibition of whip votes and declaration of party whips. And then item 4 is the minutes of the last meeting. Sorry.
Apologies, Chair. I couldn't get my virtual hand up fast enough, so put my regular hand up. Just very quickly, not sure if it's necessarily a declaration of interest, but in the emails that was circulated in the run up to this, there was a slight reference to food policy. So I just wanted to put on record I've got a special dispensation from the Standards Committee, but I guess there's no vote in, so from my standpoint, but I did just want to make that noted anyway, Chair.
Okay, well that's on the record, so that covers you, Andrew, so that's fine. Yeah. Okay. So where are we now? So minutes of the last meeting, which have been circulated. So I'd go through them for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and page 7. Are we happy that those are accurate? Yeah. And then we have the minutes of the 15th of May, which is on page 8 of the agenda. For accuracy, are we happy to accept that as accurate as well? Excellent, thank you very much. Right, item 6 is the role of the Scrutiny Programme Committee. You have a report in front of you. Just to note that Councillor Sue Jones has now joined the committee as a full member. Formerly, she was a co-opted councillor because she convened the Adult Services Scrutiny Performance Panel. A couple of things we do need to agree on, however. First of all, we need to agree to co-opt those councillors who have been appointed as performance panel conveners who are not already on the committee for the year ahead. And secondly, we need to co-opt representatives from partner agencies to assist with the scrutiny of Swansea Public Services Board for those meetings only. Are we happy to accept that, to agree that? Okay, I'm going to take your silence as consent. That's okay. Lovely, thank you. Anybody else want to say anything about this report? Are we happy that the fair bit about effective working in there and the terms of reference on the committee, as well as the scrutiny role description, scrutiny convener description? So I'm taking that people are happy with that report as well. Okay, so that takes on to item 7, which is the follow-up scrutiny working group on community growing. Can I welcome Councillor Cyril Anderson, who's the Cabinet Member for Community Services. Also, we have Councillor Alison Anthony, the Cabinet Member for Wellbeing, Councillor Andrew Stevens, the Cabinet Member for Environment and Infrastructure, and I think we're supported by Jane Whitmore, Anthony Richards, Deb Hill, Mark Barber, and Kelly Small, and Rachel Lewis as well from Property Services. So it's a cast of thousands there. Does anybody, Cyril, do you want to introduce this item?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. That's all I want to say is thanks for the invite to the follow-up. I'm not going to read through, I think you'll be glad of that. I'm not going to read through the report, Chair, because I'm sure all members would have read it. Secondly, I'd like to thank my officers for all the work that they put into this behind the scenes. And I'll hand back over to you, Chair, or over to my leading officer.
Which one's leading on this?
I'll take it as Rachel.
Rachel, do you want? I don't think Rachel.
Oh, I think I was just due to update on the food policy at the end, if you don't mind. I think Anthony probably can give a wider update on the community growing element. Thank you.
Okay. Anthony?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. If you've not met me before, I'm Anthony Richards. I'm the Tackling Poverty Development Officer in Social Services. So a year ago, we coordinated a report on community growing and the activity that the council is involved in supporting community growing in Swansea to be considered by Scrutiny. Peter, Chair, you're right. We've got a cast of officers here today. So today's a follow-up, is my understanding. And the committee, I think, have prepared some questions to kind of follow up on the report that was submitted last year. So we've got a range of kind of activity, but community growing, there are a range of departments and services that are involved in supporting community growing in one way or another through their day-to-day operations and priorities. So I don't know, Chair, if you want to go to the questions or... Yeah,
we'll go to the question, but before we do so, Councillor Michael Locke was the convener of this committee, and he's been invited to the meeting today. Mike is here. Do you have anything you want to add, Michael? Any questions you want to ask about as a follow-up?
No, I don't have any questions to follow up. All I would draw attention to is, where was it gone? I lost it in a second. All I would draw attention to is the paragraph which relates to schools and to actual food policy.
Okay.
I think I've lost. Oh, here we are. The policy, paragraph 2.4, progress with the Wild About Our Ward project, steps taken to encourage school governing bodies, and other developments.
Okay.
So it's that paragraph.
I think we've got questions on those anyway, Mike. So we'll go into those as part of this. Thank you. Okay, so I'll start off with the questions. One of the key areas for follow-up from last year's working group is the progress of the Wild About Our Ward project. We understand that officers within the Nature Conservation team were developing ward-based maps to highlight biodiversity and green space features. Can you confirm whether this work is still ongoing, or are the maps now available to staff and ward members?
Thank you, Chair. Shall I answer this one? Yeah.
Yes, okay, please, Debbie. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, just a brief update. Yes, we are continuing to work on this initiative, which was aimed to raise awareness of the resources that are pertinent to each ward in regard to nature conservation, biodiversity, and potentially other aspects of access to green space. We have completed a draft for all 32 wards, which outlines the significant features from a nature recovery perspective within each ward, and then some maps showing the distribution of protected sites, protected species, and accessible natural green space, ecosystem resilience, and a range of other features. So at the moment, the draft of all of those is pretty much completed. We haven't been able to upload them yet onto a website because of we have to go through various kind of issues around translating it into Welsh and other IT issues. But and in fact, so what we are planning to do is to release them as PDFs to the ward councillors in the autumn, as we I think initially said, and we're working with our colleagues in IT who are just in the process of implementing some new software which will enable those maps to become more interactive, which was always what we wanted in the first place. But at the moment, we don't have the IT capacity to make them interactive until this new software is installed, which we're hoping will be done within the next 6 months. So I think the answer to the question is we can share the information with councillors and officers, but it can't go publicly live until we have we've uploaded it onto the website with this new software. So hopefully that answers the question.
Can I suggest, Deborah, that before you publish them, that you actually get each ward councillor just to have a look at the maps, because there may be things that you might miss because we have local knowledge.
Yeah, sorry, I should have said that. That is the next step. That was the intention, that we would share them, individually to make sure that the content was, accurate and there was nothing missing from it. So that is our next step to do that.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Andrew, you want to add something?
You just literally took it straight out of my head exactly in terms of what I was going to say and the discussion that we're in the run up to this that I had with Deb. It's rather than wait for us to get those up on the website and go through the potential hurdles that we got to do in order to do that. It was suggested that it would be great to share that resource with ward members for that local input as well. I mean, you all know your wards better than anyone. Certainly, and I've seen some examples of some of the stuff that the team has done, and it's fantastic, to be honest, and putting some pointers there. So they could be a really good resource, and we'll also rely on you as ward members as well to try and get the messages out on what's going on in your areas and the improvements that we can do or are doing in terms of nature and biodiversity. So we kind of all need everyone to play their part as well, Chair. So took the memory straight away. Great minds think alike, maybe, is it?
You're waiting in the cabinet, Andrew. You should be in scrutiny. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I think that'd be quite useful, and certainly, I would hope that once they're available to ward members, we can share them with local groups and see what we can do to add to the process of improving biodiversity in our own areas as well as part of. That's brilliant. Thank you. So next item is on schools, which Mike Locke has already highlighted. You agreed to take steps to encourage school governing bodies to appoint link governors to champion green space and growing projects in the school. Can you update us on what action has been taken to promote this and whether there's been any notable uptake or feedback from schools? Who's coming in on that one? Is that you, Cyril? Or
do you want me to jump in on that one? Sorry.
Kelly, is it?
Yes, sorry. So obviously it's been a year since the first report to Scrutiny. So what we've done is we've contacted all schools. We've got a termly newsletter. So we have contacted them with a reminder about recommended link governors. So there is a governor link for education, for sustainable development and global citizenship, and that encompasses this role. So what we can do is send another reminder out to schools again now in the early autumn term. Obviously it's the last week of term at the moment. We can't mandate link governors for certain areas, but we can of course recommend them, which is something we will do. And we have issued guidance to schools more recently on what they need to do if they are looking at growing on school sites. Obviously City and County of Swansea with this industrial heritage, we do need to do soil testing for any growing to take place. But yes, we've got that there, and we've shared some information about Jessie Kidd, a lady who has been supporting some schools to get those growing areas set up and running as well.
Have you had any feedback from the schools at all?
We haven't had any feedback, no, but that is something we could request.
Yeah, I think that'd be useful, and I think you might. I mean, I think virtually every councillor is a school governor. So it might be worth copying us in so that we can go to our governing body and say, what are you doing with this missive or request, and see, just we can take it up with them as well. So once we know that the request has gone back out again to schools, those of us as school governors can go to our various bodies and say, look, we need to take some action on this as well. That might be useful.
Okay.
Yeah. Andrew.
No, thanks. I was just going to say, Penrose Primary in particular have been doing an awful lot of good stuff on this going back the last couple of years. In fact, in terms of their growing, they got a polytunnel set up, and it's something that, and I've been involved with them a number of times over the last couple of years as a school governor myself. So certainly be worth getting the feedback on what other schools are doing.
They've got your expertise to draw on, haven't they, Andrew? Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. And certainly, I think Burlice has got a community garden as well. So I know a number of schools have got community gardens and stuff, which is useful. Just we need some feedback so we can disseminate best practice, I think, is the issue, isn't it, in terms of all the schools. Okay, Mike White, you've got a question now on community groups and collaboration.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, what I would like to know is that if you can provide an overview of how many gardening clubs or community growing groups currently exist across the City and County of Swansea, particularly those based in community centres or churches or other areas, because I can remember the community centre in my ward where they did have a gardening club, and once a year they'd have a garden show. But it encouraged people of the community to go along and participate and pick up tips and experience on how to grow their own vegetables on the property. So just wondering if that information is available, and are obviously like social services or poverty and leisure services working together as one sort of group, really, in promoting this facility to grow your own, but using the council's facilities as well for them to meet up. Thank you, Chair.
Who wants to respond to that?
I'm happy to pick that one up, Chair.
Anthony? Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you for the question, Councillor. I've actually got a list of community growing projects on my screen here in front of me. There's some 30 odd that I've got here. I don't intend reading them out unless you particularly like me to. It is something that I could share with you beyond the meeting if that would be helpful. I would like to have the opportunity though just to check with other colleagues in other departments and perhaps colleagues in some of our partner organisations that support community growing, just to make sure that list is as full as it can be. But as I say, I do have a list of some 30 which range from as you say, community centres. We've got some projects that are involved in tackling food poverty that have growing on their site. We've got some religious venues that have community growing. What else can I see on the list? We've got some of our own council services like the youth service that are involved in some community growing projects. We've got community councils. Some of the community growing is around food, not all of it. There are some that are around kind of wildflowers and other things as well as food. We've got some of our men sheds projects that are involved in food growing, some of our schools. And community facilities. So there's quite a range of projects that I could share with you. Happy to share a list, but as I said, I'd like to kind of be able to circulate the list that I've got and just make sure it's as full as it can be. If that would be helpful, I could get some make sure we've got contact information on that list as well for you. In terms of the second part of your question, which was around how we collaborate internally across the different departments to support these projects. So just giving you an oversight of that. So I'm in tackling poverty, and my involvement in this is that some of the grants that we administer around food poverty, community support and community growing projects is eligible under that funding. So we always try and encourage community growing projects to come forward and develop in Swansea. And as a result of that grant funding, we have seen some projects that are perhaps initially involved in supporting people facing food poverty or food insecurity. We've seen them start to develop some growing activities on the site as well, helping to tackle that issue. But we rely on working with not just our external partners there, but a lot of these groups are supported by a number of services within the council, whether that's out there in communities like our team of area coordinators, but also when we get those inquiries about potentially new community growing projects, we make the links as officers between the departments, whether that's colleagues like Deb in nature recovery. Sometimes they have some funding that's available that can support with tools and that sort of stuff, through to colleagues in cultural services, parks and cleansing, colleagues in corporate property, housing, education. It tends to be unique. It'll depend on the inquiry from the community in terms of who might get involved in that. But we signpost, I think, and collaborate, but internally, so that we're able to kind of offer the best support and advice to new groups or established groups as they go through their journeys.
Thank you for that.
I hope
Mike,
that answers the question. It's
very thorough. You can circulate the list to us afterwards, Anthony?
I can.
Mike, are you okay with that, Mike?
Yeah, I think it is very, very beneficial to know that departments are working with others. Obviously, as I say, especially within our community centres, because lots of centres would encourage having other groups as well to use the buildings, and also it helps people then plus who are on their own and looking for something to do, and we're linking with the local area coordinators as well, as a link person to plus to take them along to the appropriate venue as well, so that it will help people's well-being as well. Thank you, Chair.
I know that the men's shed in St John's Day Centre do their own growing as well, so they're presumably on the list as part of that. Right, Alison, and then Andrew. Alison.
Yes, thanks, and thanks to all the officers for their answers and everything. And I'm glad you said that, Peter, because I was going to mention the men's shed you just spoke about and everything, because they had, when I went there last, they had large growing areas, and they involved the care home at the side. People were coming out and helping. It was fabulous, and we have got quite a few good examples of that now, I think. And Anthony was just talking about the grants, and I think particularly after COVID, we've really sort of tried to emphasize in the grants about growing and as much for their well-being as anything, because they often can't grow enough to really supplement things. Do you mean? But it's the coming together there, and Gleis Community Centre have benefited from the emergency food grants and things like that, and the growing grants, and they've got some lovely planters, and people in the care home, and they'll come up as well, and everybody just does a bit of what they can. They do a bit of food, some of his flowers, but there was lots of help from different places in the community that come and give them the soil, you know what I mean, and all different sort of things. So it is very broad, like Anthony said, all different sort of organisations. We've got Food Bank in Birchgrove that grows and puts in quite a lot of vegetables into the parcels where many food banks can't, when it's fresh. But and I'd just like to thank him, because as much as it is, there's no real lead over it all, and there's no real designated person, there is still an awful lot going on, and the staff do work together. So I just wanted to add that, Peter. Thanks.
Thanks, Alison. Andrew?
Yeah, just want to second what Alison said there, Chair, in terms of the well-being benefits of growing your own. Obviously, there's the potential clear health benefits of eating ideally locally sourced sustainable produce, but there is certainly a well-being element in terms of just growing, even if it's just a small little area. It's got a couple of things. I can certainly attest to that, even though maybe on a slightly bigger scale that we do it. But no, I definitely agree there. So but I did want to mention as well, actually, because it didn't. I might have missed over in Anthony's answer there. Now is there's some community groups, and I'm sure Alison will be aware of these, in terms of ones that address some of the food waste issues. And there's a program. There's a group called Cyfoeth y Coed, which harvest apples or plums or veg, and they disseminate those to the community fridge or food banks or what have you. And I think people underestimate just how much food is actually wasted, and I think they're doing that in order to try and help it from a food poverty standpoint and address the issues of climate change that comes with food waste, I think is excellent. So I just wanted to make a reference to that in case it wasn't picked up with just specifically growing. I mean, it's a project that I've had firsthand. I've offloaded some of our stuff that would have gone to waste on the farm. I mean, they took took quite a lot of marrows off me once, to be honest, and they found for various outlets, and they've had squash and stuff like that, as well as I've pointed them to a number of residents who perhaps had apple trees or they've just fallen on the lawn and they were getting tired of cutting them with a lawnmower or what have you, and they've come and they've taken them all professional, excellent, doing a great job. So I just wanted to give a nod to that in every chair. So
thank you. I say I've got runner beans in my garden, and it's not very relaxing dealing with the slugs, I have to tell you. Okay, Lyndon, you've got a question on community garden.
Thanks. Yeah, I just planted runner beans as well. So there we go. Yeah, one recommendation not taken forward was to explore a garden sharing scheme, particularly where residents may be unable to maintain their gardens, for the purpose of growing. 12 months on, is the position still the same? If it is, would you be open to revisiting this idea, perhaps through a small-scale pilot, as it would have, benefits for the whole community? And if not, what are the main barriers, legal, safeguarding, or otherwise?
Okay, who's the expert on this? Anthony, I think.
If you're not tired of hearing my voice, then I am happy to pick up on this one, Chair. Yeah, thank you, Linda. I'm following on from the comments from Andrew and Alison about the impact in terms of involvement in activity in community growing or maintaining gardens and the impact on mental health, etc. Very valuable. So yeah, the idea was put forward around a garden share scheme. So a year on, I am reporting that the position is the same. That this hasn't been taken forward. We don't have the resources to explore, develop, or maintain a council-run scheme. They're just not currently available within the resources that we have. As Lyndon indicated there, that there would be barriers and risks to explore with such a scheme, because you're looking then at agreements between residents that the council isn't necessarily involved in, but would be things to explore around safeguarding, insurance, as you said, health and safety, contracts and agreements between the parties, those who have a garden available and those who would like access to that garden, what happens around dispute resolution. All of this would have to be fully investigated before such a scheme run by the council, if the council is the most appropriate body to run such a scheme. All of that would have to be explored thoroughly before that could be developed. We did a year ago when we discussed it, we did inform the committee that there is actually an existing garden share scheme. It's a national scheme that's very much in line with the description of this scheme idea. It's accessible to Swansea residents. It is called Lend and Tend. I was looking at their website earlier, and there is a map on there which shows the availability of gardens that residents across the UK are saying are available, and then there's also kind of people that are interested as well. The organisation looks to link up people that have a garden with those that would be interested in accessing that garden, and kind of those parties then working together and have an agreement between them around what happens with equipment, all of this stuff. So that scheme does exist. Obviously, it's not run by the council, but there are on the map Swansea locations there.
Okay. Then did you want to Anthony? Okay.
Yeah, no, fine. Thanks, Anthony. I think though, they've done the heavy lifting there, really. So a lot of the work that you say would be problematical, they've actually done it. So it wouldn't be that difficult to take it forward. But I would suggest a pilot in the near future to have a look at it. And as I say, and because it would have big benefits, for the householder because they get some vegetables, but also for the people who want to use it as well. But I guess, hopefully we can look at some progress on that in the future. But thanks very much.
or alternatively, we could just better promote the national scheme that's there, and so that people are more aware, obviously, and can actually opt into it. And might be, rather than setting our own scheme up, see what we can do with the existing scheme. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So, Jane Whitmore.
Yeah, Jane. Yeah.
Hiya, sorry, thank you, Chair. Just to sort of support Tony and Anthony in the scheme. It is really it's one that I don't think as a council we would run, but actually because they have done the heavy lifting, that we could look into supporting with it. But it does have a sign up fee, so obviously in terms of them running a thing, so people would have to pay to sign up to it. But something that we could look at and understand how that would work, or how that could be promoted or supported from a council perspective, and how that links in with the other groups and the third sector groups. We could take it back through our compact agreement, our Councillor Anthony, in terms of understanding how they can work with the groups that are already existing and make the links that way. Because I think that, as you say, they have done the heavy lifting, but it is quite resource intensive for a council to do it, and there's lots and lots of legal barriers. But so I think a third party would probably be the best one to go forward, rather than try and do it ourselves. Sometimes we're not best placed to do things as a council.
First, perfectly understandable. Maybe you can have a look at how we could take that forward, Jane, into the future. Okay,
Yes,
lovely. I think, unless there's any more questions, my last question then is: are there any other developments, initiatives, or achievements? Oh, hang on, Peter May wants to come in first. You come in first, and I'll come back to my question. Then, Peter.
Thank you. Particularly interested in the schools angle. I've got two schools, Bryn Mawr and Bryn Mill, in my ward, which don't actually have any green space on site. They've just got yard space. There's a group in Bryn Mill School called Green Scene who are doing very well. They've utilised planters and things like that to try and get some sort of diversity into the playground. And also Bryn Mawr, we're letting them use a little bit of the community centre lawn, which is just over the road. What sort of proposals have we got going forward to assist schools to contribute to the green and biodiversity element, who haven't actually got green spaces on site?
Kelly's going to come in on this one. Is that right, Kelly?
Yeah. I think I mentioned earlier, we've given schools guidance on that. So what a lot of our schools are doing is using raised beds to be able to grow their sort of fruit and vegetables in. I've just got to hear, so the advice we've given them is that it needs to be 600 mil raised beds with geotextile membranes, and we have to use that clean topsoil that I mentioned earlier, because we do need to be aware of low levels of soil contamination that could be present in our own soil. So we have shared this with schools, but we can share it again when I share the information on the link governor as well, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, and any grants available for them? As I think Anthony might have alluded to.
Anthony would probably be the man on the grants.
Thank you.
Anthony, any grants?
Yeah, happy to come in. We've just actually closed the round of what Welsh Government used to call direct food support. They've changed the name. It's now called emergency food aid. That's the one that I was referring to, that has an element of the grant eligibility around supporting community growing. I believe we have supported a small number of schools with that grant. It's not a massive grant, but it supports a wide range of food projects. It may be the case that we have a further grant offer during the financial year from Welsh Government. I don't know. Perhaps not. If we do, I'd be sure to share. We promote the availability of these grants as widely as we can. I can make sure, Kelly, that we can circulate that and make sure that schools are aware. I hesitate a little bit because I know how oversubscribed we will be. The demand for these grants is huge, and it can be problematic, but we do want to see a really wide range of projects being supported. It's really important. So yeah, thanks, Peter.
Yeah, of course, just because you don't have green space doesn't mean you can't plant. I know the old Manston School actually built some planting areas on top of the tarmac, dug away the tarmac. So it is possible to do work like that, to actually create spaces where you can grow, even if you just got a concrete or tarmac yard. It can be done if you have the resources to do it. Okay, Francesca.
Chair, I don't know if Cyril was going to respond back to
Cyril,
that.
did you want to? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so did you have some to add?
Just a quick one, Chair, thank you. Just to back up Kelly, what she's saying about the raised beds. I've noticed that in Chownhill School, I was up there this week, and they were growing strawberries out of it, and runner beans, and all other sorts of veg. So there is work going on in the background. I'm sorry about my dog.
Yeah, a number of schools have installed raised beds, as you say, so, and Manston did at one stage as well. Okay, Francesca.
Thanks, Chair. I was part of that working group on the growing communities, which was really interesting. When we had the cabinet members letter back, I know it didn't touch upon the sustainable farming scheme, which I know obviously now is in the news this week, and it is confirmed that although it has changed, there is still going to be a 10% towards the biodiversity. I was just wondering from the council's perspective if there would be appetite to engage with farmers. I'm sure Andrew might have an opinion on this and perhaps could provide some really useful insight, but would there be appetite from the council's perspective if there is that land there, that working in partnership with farmers to utilise that land and work in partnerships, or even lobbying the Welsh Government for additional funds, which is always handy, isn't it? But if there is going to be that land there for 10% of their land for biodiversity, one, is there appetite from the council to explore those options, and two, if we're going to be looking to see if there's going to be any grant money coming via local government, via Welsh Government. Thank you.
Okay. Andrew, do you want to have a go at this one?
Don't know if I can I?
Sorry, Andrew, I dropped you in.
Thanks, Chair. Certainly there's been some announcements today in terms of the sustainable farming scheme. I know there's been some changes in terms of the tree target, which was very welcome, but there's still I haven't been through the entire 200-page document just yet, given it only just came out today to know what the exact minutiae that's going to mean for rural areas. Now, I'm not sure exactly in terms of what kind of commitment from the council to utilise that would be, because each farm holding would be eligible for the BPS scheme, which is in turn potentially transition to the sustainable farming scheme. So I'm not entirely clear on the question, or what kind of question it would be from a local authority standpoint, given that we don't believe we have any county farms, do we?
No, just to see if there was any appetite from the council's perspective to work in partnership with farms,
I'll tell you what, shall we put in the letter and to give the very cabinet members a chance to read through the 200-page document?
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
We put
Not
in the
that I
letter,
want to put anyone on the spot, Chair, but I'd rather start that conversation of is there appetite, and just to maybe happy for that to go forward, Chair. Thank you. Yeah,
we'll put it in the letter, and whichever cabinet member is responsible, I'm not sure if it's even Andrew's responsibility, just happens to be, he's a farmer, so we're worth asking him. But we put it in the letter and let the relevant cabinet member respond to it in terms of whether they believe there's an appetite or a potential to actually involve any farms in the area in terms of community growing and encouraging people to do that. Shall we?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, lovely. Any other questions at all on this issue? I've got one more then. Just really based on any other developments, initiatives or achievements related to community growing since the original scrutiny session that the committee should be aware of, and in particular an update on any progress towards developing a sustainable food policy, which was mentioned last year. I think this is where you come in, Rachel, is it? You mentioned sustainable food policy.
Yeah, I'm happy to run through it, or if Andrew wants to, that's fine too.
Okay.
I can touch on it briefly and pass over to you if you want, Rachel, because I was going to say in terms of the food policy, because my understanding was that the food bill at Welsh Government level is currently on hold, and so there's not really been any further progress with an overall food policy per se. But as you can see from what's come up so far in the meeting, in terms there's a lot of good things going on in a number of different areas, be it in education or in poverty and prevention, with the community groups, the community grow-ins. But maybe it does need something to perhaps pull that all together really, and get a clear direction on what we can do to support local food growing or support local food policy from across the council, really, and which could potentially have great benefits for both the environment economically and as we said, the health benefits, really, to be honest, Chair. So we were thinking, given it's potentially going to be a forward-looking thing, is maybe something via the STCs towards the end of the year or something along those lines, Chair. And Rachel's welcome to come in now.
Rachel?
Yeah, thanks for that, Andrew. Yeah, I think, we started to draft a policy that was basically built up of the 7 key principles that the food bill was presented in that way. So they were things like health and well-being, just get them up here so remember them, food safety, health and social. So again, we've covered that in terms of food poverty, food insecurity, reducing obesity, education, so ensuring that people have got accessibility to educational provision on food related issues, and environmental issues, and food waste, which I think Andrew touched on earlier. And the last one is food procurement, which I know, particularly in education with Alison Koska, there's a lot of work that's gone on there with the school meals and our procurement supply chain to ensure that we are trying to offer local and sustainable produce, and there's been some really good work there carried out via Castle Howell. So there is lots of good work going on there. We did hold on developing the policy or putting it into draft format because the food bill wasn't approved through the Senedd, but it doesn't appear as if that's got a date for, a renewed iteration. It looks now as if some of the strategies and things coming out of Welsh Government are more specific. Like there's a recent community food strategy come out. So I think maybe Welsh Government are looking at breaking down that huge food bill, which it was, into perhaps smaller strands. So I think there's a piece of work there now for us over 25-26 to go back and review that. And make sure that we are looking inwards as well as outwards. I think there's a lot of place-based activity, as this conversation has demonstrated. There's some really good work going on across the borough, but it's also looking internally and reflecting on our own policies and processes of what we're doing as Swansea Council as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be useful to keep us up to date with that, and maybe Mary Jones's panel could maybe scrutinise that in future as well in terms of how we take that forward.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anybody else got any questions on this? No? Okay, can I thank the cast of thousands for coming along and talking about this? It's been a very useful session. I think hopefully we'll make some more progress on this as we go forward. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to item 8 now, which is the membership of scrutiny panels of working groups. There's no changes to report. Item 9 is scrutiny letters, and there's a number of letters there for information. I think also the inquiry panels follow up on this report on antisocial behaviour. Note there's a request from the panel that the programme committee asks about performance data relating to antisocial behaviour. That can be picked up within the committee's next crime and disorder scrutiny session in April. And also outcomes from scrutiny working groups on empty properties. Francesca convened that. I'm not sure if Francesca's still here, is she? Yes, she is, yeah. And the tree services, which Peter May convened. So they'll be coming back to us as well. The full correspondence is there as part of that. And of course, we'll follow up on that as we do with all these working groups in terms of once we get the responses and then follow up, make sure what they said doing, they actually do. So just note all that stuff there as well. Item 10 then is the scrutiny work programme. So as you know, we had the scrutiny work conference. And from that, we put together this programme for your approval. Just some highlights, the in-depth inquiry panel. We've got capacity support, 1 in-depth inquiry a year. The current grants inquiry is ongoing. Once that's been concluded, we're going to move on to cost of living and community resilience. And we'll agree the exact terms of reference and key questions will be agreed by that inquiry panel once we set it up as part of that. Performance panel arrangements are unchanged. In terms of working groups, we have a number of one-off working group topics which we're proposing for forthcoming year: heritage protection and restoration, street scene, taxi services, public toilets, and business support. So they'll be delivered during the year, hopefully as part of a more in-depth look at those particular subjects. And that's in the report. And then in terms of future committee meetings, you've got the scrutiny work programme in front of you and the proposed committee work plan. So I'm going to ask you if you're okay to agree all that. Anybody's got any questions or points they want to make on that at all? Everyone's happy with all that then? Okay. And so the next committee meeting is on the 16th of September. And we're going to be looking at recycling, waste collection service, and also fly tipping reduction and enforcement. And we'll be inviting the relevant cabinet members to come to that meeting. So if I can take it that that report is agreed, then we're going to move on then to item 11, which is the date and time of the upcoming scrutiny panel working group meetings, which is there for information. So unless anybody's got anything else, I'm going to declare the meeting closed, and thank you all for coming, and I will see you next time in September. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.